La Lanterna, a spotlight in Italian football, is a podcast that dives into the beautiful game seen from the eyes of two fans from the oldest team in Italy's point of view. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, Canadian and Genovese, together with my friend Matt Killen, an American-born and Genoa fan. Every week, we'll tell you all you need to know about the only team you need to know about, Genoa CFC. Plus, we'll have guests and provide updates from around the magical world of Italian football. Benvenuti, everybody. Welcome to La Lanterna podcast. This is Fabrizio from Toronto with my best buddy,
Matt. Fabry, good evening. How you doing? How's it going?
I am good. What's that accent now? Everything is fine. I'd say we're back on track after, let me remind you how, you were hard on with the tie that we had against Como. And what did you think about the win? So let's first say, I guess, Genoa 2, Perugia 0.
Yeah, it was a great performance from Genoa. I think the match, honestly, it could have probably been even more than 2. Their keeper was really a major, a number of shots. I think there was a ton of chances. Eddie, I think, probably summed it up well in the group chat too. There's a lot of players were involved in this match, though. A lot of different guys kind of really had shining moments throughout the match. It wasn't the usual, only just Goodmanson or, some good chances from Coda or anything like that. We've talked about Dragusin a lot and his contributions in defense. Of course, he did score a goal.
Number 4, right?
Yes. But I don't know what you feel upset about as a Genoa fan. I thought it was a pretty comprehensive win. What do you think?
This is the do or die moment. This is the final rush. This is the final race. Yep. So concentration has to be at its most. Como was difficult. I agree with your analysis where you were saying, look how many chances they had and we didn't. I'm thinking about the podcast and I just listened to it not too long ago. But at the same time, even Bari struggled to pull it out with Como.
Yeah, and you have to say that too. I mean, looking at the most recent match, of course, they also will get to the round of in Serie B, the third match week, but that was also 2-2, of course, Como to Bari.
But it was the opposite where Como was winning.
Exactly. So Bari had to come back into that game just to get a point out of it.
And mind you, that was like at the 110th minute, but that's a totally different topic.
Yeah. But yes, it's a point well taken. I think you've seen recently some of the performances that Como have put together. It maybe makes the match look a little different than it did when we were reacting to it a week ago. But it's all that important race for the title at this point for us, and really for Genoa fans. I think, truthfully, probably mainly for securing that automatic promotion place. But still, we can't take that for granted. Obviously, we're always looking around our shoulders at Bari, at Südtirol, tough looking up at Frosinone, but in the end, actually, we got kind of the results we wanted in pretty much every case. So winning this match against Perugia was just that much more important.
We are at match day 33. We are at the same amount of points differential at match day 31. So the only difference is if before we had 7 match days to go, now we have 5 match days. So it's all about not losing concentration, and we have control of what happens to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, when you look at it, it's 4 points from the top. It's 6 points, from where Bari are sitting right now in the 3rd position. And again, 5 matches, there's still some things that could happen in either way here. But I think it was a really good week and good result. But getting back to the match, I mean, so what do you think? Who's your standout? Which player do you remember kind of the most from this match?
I'm going to go a little bit against probably the general thought out there, because it was a great overall performance by many players.
Yeah. Return
of Bani above all, perhaps. But I want to give recognition for Mimmo.
Mimo had a fantastic match. I think you're absolutely. I think you're right. It's kind of surprising that maybe not enough people were having him kind of come up and top of mind with this one, because I think he really had a good performance.
He is super most comfortable with the 3 at the back.
3 at the back, that's right.
Being on the left. And sure, he even said it, I don't have the same stamina as Haps or Sabelli, but the quality that he brings, no one can comment on that.
I mean, absolutely. And to your point, I mean, with this back three, I mean, what do you think it allows him to thrive more just because he has that ability to, he doesn't need to worry about getting caught out as much. He's kind of coming and pulling the strings from the back a little bit. Like, why do you think that works better for him?
With respect to what do you mean? Like with
Well,
respect
just to
to
see
like a
his, because you're
four for
right.
me?
I think he, at this stage of his career, you get more performances from Mimo like this in this back three position than if he were to be playing more traditionally in a back four, or perhaps even in like a 3-5-2. I actually don't think he's been doing as well from that kind of wing back position either.
It's the fact that he can't run as fast as
Yeah.
many youngers out there, right?
Right.
But if you put him in the three at the back, like a 3-5-2, 3-4-3, whatever that might be, he is doing well. He doesn't seem to do very well with a four at the back line, but with a three, it's his spot. That's who I would give the MVP for this match. What about you?
I is sort of an against the grain performance too that might seem kind of cute, but I thought Jagiello actually was very active, especially early on in the match. And it's not often that we see him in the starting lineup. I think this formation, obviously the usual 3-5-2. Of course, he collected an assist. I thought he was actually kind of unlucky. He had an early shot on goal that was kind of fantastic as well. And I just thought, it was kind of an interesting dynamic seeing him there. I tend to think of him more often as sort of like a wing player in a 4-3-3 or something like that, kind of in a similar way to how we would normally deploy Aramu. But having him play kind of in this role in the 3-5-2 was actually kind of interesting. I thought it suited him fairly well.
Up until we have Sturaro back, which is that's his spot, essentially. When Sturaro's in shape and form, that's his spot. He was great at the first portion of the match, half of the second half or whenever that was. I find him a great player, even for next year in the event we go to Serie A, but I don't think he can play great all 90 minutes.
That's true. I mean, I think you've seen that pretty consistently from him in his time in the Rosso Blue. Like, we've obviously seen some good performances from him, also coming off from the bench, contributing very well. He is a player that has kind of a shelf life. And look, to be fair, this was another match like that. He was subbed off in the 71st minute for Hefty, which I think also made absolutely a ton of sense at that time, given where we were in the match. But yeah, I don't know what you can say. I think on the whole, I felt like Genoa really were lively. I know obviously Frendrup gets the first goal, but even before that, I think he had this opportunity where he kind of like chested the ball and had a shot that he let go from outside of the box. And you could just tell, I don't know what exactly it was, but this is also what I think is so impressive about this performance. So we were talking about how the Como match could have been one that maybe is a deflating match. You give away points. Granted, it's away from home, but it's still a difficult match for you to kind of take on. It's still a pretty close race in the end when it comes to who's going up and your chance for catching Frosinone and everything else. Perugia have not been also a very easy out. And we've seen the guys came into this match almost immediately, and I thought they really looked confident, and everybody did. And Frendrup, I think, exemplifies a little bit sort of what I think makes this match so important, because we all know his quality and how important he was last season, even though we ended up going down. He's not, I wouldn't say actually typically he's been our best holding midfielder this season. In fact, I would probably put him third, honestly. Below Badal, probably below Strootman. I kind of want to put Serrato there too, but he's not really played as many games. But just seeing him have that confidence to take on shots like that, and I know, especially his position, it's about much, much more than unleashing a 30-yard cannon or something like that. But whatever Gila did during the week, I think it really worked. The players seemed to really respond to it.
Remember what I told you? He for sure went to that locker room. In fact, I think he was a little bit delayed also in the press release after the match.
Yeah.
And I am sure he told them off, how Gilardino does. So I'm not saying that he's like gonna, I guess like a Mourinho type of style, but I'm sure that he said, hey guys, we got to wake up. Otherwise, we're going to just waste everything that we've done and built so far. Right. But yeah, great performance. Before we go and describe the two goals, here's an audio file from Will from our last episode in England that has a recap analysis of the match against Perugia.
Hello, La Lanterna. It's Will here from London, not from Genova, in case there was some Will confusion. First of all, big shout out to Fabry and I for guessing the right result, 2-0. Sorry about that, Matt, but I'm sure you had a chance to celebrate anyways. I think the key word for this game was response. We responded clearly after that Como game, where we pretty much gave away a 2-0 lead. But we responded clearly because right now this team is in a healthy and strong position and knows what it wants to do and knows what the end goal is. I think the game was handled really well. Perugia were never really dangerous. Got a good opening goal in the first half from a beautiful cross from Sabelli, good header from Frendrup. And then in the second half, just when the stadium was singing Segna per noi, vogliamo vincere, give us a goal, we want to win, Dragoshin got that beautiful header in to keep his goal tally high as a defender. And then that was pretty much it after then. So Forza Genoa sempre. 5 games left, not long. Daghe!
Thank you, Will. That was amazing, especially the portion at the beginning talking about the prediction. Let me just quickly talk about the lineup. So we had obviously great Martinez. Actually, Martinez great, yeah, but did he even do anything in this match, right?
There was a ton really to face now. I mean, there's that one shot, I think, was it early in the first half? The ball was
Just
kind of an angle, but there weren't very many shots on target actually at all for him. I'm not sure if there were any actually.
Shots on target was 0.
Yeah.
Off target were 7.
Right.
From Perugia side. So formation, left to right, Martinez in goal, Domenico Criscito, Dragoshin in the middle, and Bani to the right. So this was quite interesting, if I may add. I thought that was a genius move from Gilardino. Then you go to the midfield, so the 3-5-2 formation, Sabelli to the left, Strutman, Badel in the middle, Jagiello, as we mentioned, or Jagiello, Frendrup to the right side. Up at front, we have Goodmanson, of course, in support to Massimo Coda. How many shots on goal did Massimo Coda have?
I know. I think it was, he literally had 3 shots on target. He had another 2 off target that I think actually were also should have probably been maybe challenging a little bit better than that. But I get that comment a little bit. At the same time, I still think sometimes maybe you just can't quite find it. But there were so many great movements. I mean, remember that one, pretty sure this was a Coda shot, but earlier in the match, I think it was Goodmanson that started the ball, and then they had kind of like a 1-2 with Strootman, and then the ball finds Coda, and then we just didn't have that finishing touch from him in this game. Look, what I liked actually about this from him was that he certainly was in sync with his team. And yes, there wasn't the finishing element that we kind of come to expect from him. And he's had some matches where he's completely saved us with a world-class finish. And this match didn't have that, but he very much was in the mix. As a striker, you just hope that he keeps his confidence, and I'm sure he will.
What about the first goal?
Look, this is something I think both of these goals were sort of interesting goals to me. Probably some of the less spectacular attacking plays that Genoa had in the matches were the 2 opportunities where we scored goals. This first one, Sabelli has this knack, and I don't know what it is, but his ability to play these long crosses from almost the touchline to the opposite end of the box and find a player is ridiculous to me. And I think this is why he's been the preferred player ultimately in that left wing back position, if you want to call it that, in the 3-5-2, because he is just so good at delivering the ball from outside of there. And I think he does probably most of the work with that ball in. Frendrup has, honestly, I think both of these goals is sort of weirdly similar. The Cittadella, or not Cittadella, I'm already thinking about next week. The Perugia player, for some reason, never gets between him and the goal. And so he just kind of running in and has that header and he finishes it well. It's not always an easy thing to do with composure. But I think excellent ball from Sabelli. And you got to give Frendrup credit too for finishing the goal. All of a sudden, it's 1-0 Genoa.
At the opening, we saw a little bit of a livelihood from Perugia. Castori is a very well respected and known coach for Serie B.
Yes.
So that even in his post-match conference, he did say, we gave it all we had. And we already knew it was like night and day. Even though they had 0 chances on goal, they did their best with the defense. Hence what you said too. It could have ended 4 or 5-0.
Yeah, it's sort of a strange match because I wouldn't completely say we ran Perugia ragged, right? I think we had certainly several very good chances that were encouraging to watch and really like good football as well. It wasn't just some long kind of scruffy ball in the box type of a thing. game. And to your point, Perugia, there was that one play, I think notably early on in the match where I think actually Dragusin maybe fell down or something. And that was, I think actually we were just talking about with the shot that nearly troubled Martinez. But it was an important goal to take. I think you have to say it that way, because as soon as that ball goes in, all of a sudden, now we have some confidence to say, okay, we've got our goal. We've got a positive thing with this. Now let's continue to be on the front foot and let's continue to try to get something out of this game. I think it was important. We also got it in the first half.
One goal ahead and the confidence is there. Second half starts, confidence continues. A lot of shots again, as we mentioned before, from Coda. And then this great, I forgot one thing. The goal from Friendship, sorry if I'm backtracking here for a second, but the goal from Friendship, it happened with 21 passes. So it started from Martinez, back and forth a little bit in the defense, then slowly goes up. It was like a pinball, ding, bing, bing, all the way to Friendship, and then it goes into the... Anyways, going back to the second half,
love it. The
confidence is still there. And then Dragusin is our secret forward.
He has this knack. I really don't know exactly what it is, but he's very, very good at this. And again, so it's another goal, this time off of a corner. In a way, there's some similarities to it. The ball's on the opposite end of the post when Dragusin heads it back in. He manages to kind of elude his marker, so he's got that chance to really get a clean hitter on the ball. But this is a skill that this guy has. Like, this isn't the first time that we've seen him score goals like this. Really, really critical moment in the match, because, once you get that second goal, I think that's when everything kind of feels like we have obviously like a little bit more beneath us. We've got a little bit more protection. It's kind of fun to see Dragusin continue to be on the score sheet for us. To your point, I think he might be the second most scorer on the team, maybe behind Goodmanson.
I think he's on par with Jagiello, but most likely it's definitely up there anyways.
Yeah.
2-0, but truthfully, we could have won a lot more. Perugia was very diligent and ordered at the back and tried to stop as much as they could. Yeah. They did enough in order to end with a 2-0 loss, but at the same time, I enjoyed the match. I was so proud of the team.
Yeah, I think it was a real, as we kind of said before, it was a real team win. I think getting the goals and having the opportunity also to change in some players, actually, like in at least relatively early on. I suppose some of the other subs came in like the 82nd, 83rd, Aramu in the 86th minute, but getting Hefty and Ekuban in on the 71st minute specifically is kind of what I'm reacting to. Getting both of those guys some more playing time, not to say that they, are charity cases or anything of that effect, but kind of coming back from injury, And so just a great overall team performance. And in the end, you have to say very much a deserved win.
Before we go to the results of Serie B match day 33, I wanted to give a shout out to Perugia. It was the derby of the Grifonis. It was something that shocked me in a pleasant way, where there was a post from L'Artiglio del Grifo, one of the major social media from the Perugia side. And they essentially posted this fact that after the match, all the players go in the locker room, and usually it's like a whole mess for people then to the cleaners to go in. Right. But they left it super clean, with also a statement after that by saying, we left everything clean and neat and perfect for this great welcome that we had at the Ferraris. This gesture is for not only for the kind of respect and sportsmanship they have towards the Rossoblu. Added to that was a personal comment to saying this away match, a lot of fans exchanged the scarves. And one of the first things that they heard before the exchanging of the scarves, which is like an old thing that happened, I remember since I was a kid. One of the first things that a lot of fans had heard when they arrived to Genoa was welcome to Genova. And he said, it's a pure friendship between the two teams. Both of us have this same, I'm going to call it with a quote unquote hatred against both Ternana and the Ciclisti.
That's right. I forget that the Ternana are their rivals. That's right.
For us, we're natural friends because we both hate Ternana. So what's more than just being great friends? It's not a gemellaggio, but a great friendship, similar to what we have with Pisa. And I just thought it was something beautiful. They were amazed, more than shocked, to see over 30,000 fans at the stadium. They arrived in around 800, and seeing the chants from Gradinata Nord to the Gradinata Sud, and for them, that was just like something amazing. Great respect for them. Absolutely. Also, sorry, you.
Oh, no, I just said absolutely. And I guess since I have the mic for a second, I have to give them a little shout out too. I don't know if anyone else saw their pre-match jackets did you see this? They have like varsity jackets.
Yeah, I saw that.
Pretty amazing. But I love the fan support for the two clubs. I always kind of wonder, it being like a fan maybe newer to the ins and outs of Italian football. You wonder stuff like this, right? Like the also Grifoni, like maybe there's not always a normal rivalry. Perugia are actually a pretty large club when you think about historically, like their contribution to Italian football. Maybe not the most winning side or anything, but it's great to see that kind of mutual respect between the fans, and also to see fans kind of enjoying the match atmosphere in that way, and seeing other fans that are really getting up for it and enjoying the match. What football should really be about, I think.
Right. Another thing I wanted to add was right after the match, there was quite a large, I can't remember now the specific numbers, but at least like a dozen or so of fans from Amsterdam that went to Genova.
Shout out Hans.
Hans was exactly with them. So it was like already like one of our friends was there, right? The group had lots of pictures taken and so on. And they gave a prize to Gudmundsson, United in the name of Genoa. Gudmundsson was elected the best player for Genoa.
I love it.
That was quite nice. Let's go quickly to match day 33 then. We had Bari that was sort of closing in, and then we also looking up at what Frosinone was going to be doing. So all eyes on deck for all the matches, also from the bottom side, and or for the playoffs themselves too. So let's start with Modena-Parma.
Yep.
It ended at 1-1. It was the derby of Emilia-Romagna. It both gives them that point towards the playoffs. So at least no one's really got hurt out of that match, but nobody really came out a super winner. Second, we have Venezia-Palermo. That was quite a great match. I thought Palermo would have been able to pull some of their strengths, but at the end, Venezia came out from relegation area. Next match was one of the ones that we were looking at for Ascoli-Südtirol. So Ascoli, one of our next matches, and Südtirol, the Cinderella. Their form is a little shaking. What do you think about that one?
Well, I don't know if you saw the goal in the 89th minute, but I thought that they were kind of unlucky. I mean, so it was a match away. We've talked multiple times about how difficult Ascoli is when you're playing away from there. Just something about going away to Ascoli, getting a result. And in the end, it's a penalty at the 89th minute that results in no points for Südtirol. Obviously, I think they would have needed more than just a draw out of the match regardless. But the fact that they were really only able to get nothing out of it, it's a little bit damaging for them. Ultimately, in the end, I think they'll still be in a decent chance to secure a fourth position. But yeah, I mean, it basically had a player falling down and ended up stomping on one of the Ascoli players' boots in kind of like a ricochet type of a ball. It looked like almost like an accident that the ball fell back to the Ascoli player. You see that lunge, and it was certainly a penalty, no question about it, but it sort of seemed like a freak play that ended up costing them a point. So sort of an interesting one, that one.
Next one up, quite an important one on the bottom side. Our friend that we have in the second half with Cosenza against Cittadella. Both didn't get hurt. It was a 1-1 draw. Didn't help them too much because they're both at par with the points. But at the same time, no one got hurt. And it just prolongs a little bit more of that limbo moment right now.
I don't know if you saw it too. If anyone has the highlights to wrap match day 33, the goal from Cosenza was pretty spectacular. There were actually a ton of goals off of crosses in this match day. I don't know why, but kind of an amazing one in that one. Pretty fun to watch.
Next one up is Spal against Brescia. Brescia trying to do their best in order to get out of that bottom, but they're so unlucky, I guess, in a way. Spal, same reasons. It's just like in the bottom, they're trying to get out of there. And the 2-2 was quite interesting, that one as well. But it's one of those where you're thinking no one gets hurt, but no one's really winning either. Then we have Benevento Regina. Quite surprising, the bottom of the league. We have Benevento that managed to keep up on the Regina side. Regina, we're recording today on Monday. We just heard that they got the 3 points penalty. So that drops them way at the bottom of the playoffs. But apparently they have the paperwork in order to do, what do you call it again in English? I forget.
To challenge it essentially? Or...
Yes, exactly. So it seems that they could have the right things in play in order to challenge it and perhaps have the points drop, but we'll just have to see how the slow Italian legal system works too, right? After that one, we have Bari Como, which was another one that we were looking at. We briefly mentioned about before. So Bari did not manage to win, but actually was about to lose as they were 2 under. And then they managed to tie. And then obviously the match went to the 572nd minute. Joking on the side. No, they managed to get that tie. Then obviously there's the Genoa Perugia. So the 2-0 win for Genoa. Then the second last is Cagliari Frosinone. So that was the other one that we were looking at. I was hoping in a way for Cagliari, but that was a tie. Helped us to get closer to Frosinone. It still keeps everything open. Last but not least, this is probably my most disappointing match of the whole entire match day. Ternana winning over our friends at Pisa. They're still in the race for the playoffs, but their form is a little bit getting shaky lately. And so they're losing some points here and there. So just to wrap up for the first half, quickly the standings, if I may. Frosinone first at 67, 4 points below at second spot is Genoa. Third is Bari with 57. So first to third, 10 points. So unless anything crazy, Frosinone, I think, has it in the bag.
Oh, you mean automatic promotion? Yes.
Correct.
I think, yeah.
But, everything can happen. It's 5 matches left. 4th spot, as we said before, they lost quite a few points. So it's Südtirol now. They're 5 points below Bari. Having Cagliari slowly creeping up, but it's still 4 points below them at the 5th spot. Parma has 6 points at 48. This is already reflecting the 3 points penalty to Regina, by the way. Then we have Parma at 48 with Cagliari. Pisa now is at 7th with Regina, both tied at the 7th spot. Then we have Modena, Palermo, Tirana, all sitting at the 9th spot with 43 points. Ascoli 12th with 42. Como with 41. Venezia out of the relegation area now with 39 at 14th spot. As we said before, now there's Cittadella and Cosenza sitting at 37. Cosenza is 1 spot below, just I guess for a differential of goals. Perugia sitting at 17th with 34. And the last 3, which are relegation area, are Spal at 33, Brescia at 32, and last is Benevento with 30. So this is match day 33. One thing before we go to break, there was the first loss at home for the Grifoncini. They have lost, unfortunately, 1-0 against Cremonese. This is a Primavera 2 or Primavera 2, but they're still keeping tight the first spot with 3 points lead over Parma, which have won, I think it was 5-0. I can't remember against who. So they have to be careful, and there's only 4 matches left. So that's something to keep our eyes on. Okay, sorry, I was the one talking all of it, but
No, it was a good recap. I liked it.
Let's go quickly to the break, and we'll have our super guest coming right up.
My name is Fabrizio Cardone, and I approve this message.
Bentornati to l'Antenna Podcast. This is part 2, and we have a returning guest all the way from Cittadella. Well, he's in the US, of
Not
course.
exactly.
We've been following it very vividly, both of us, and the Citta Calcio USA. Also, he has his own pod. Welcome, Jake. Welcome back, actually, you should say.
Hey guys, how's it going? Good to be back.
Well,
Let's start right off the bat. So when we first met you, we were all hyped and learning things also from you, telling us a little bit more about Serie B and everything. What happened to Cittadella? We were so hoping to see this little beautiful town thriving, maybe not last year, but up until 2 years ago. What's happening? What's going on?
Yeah. So the last time I spoke, we were kind of in a little similar situation, where not doing well going into the game at the Marassi. Kind of similar now, we're not doing well, and I think it's even more pressure, and there's a lot more anxiety since there's only 5 games left and we're right there just above relegation. And it's been just a really bad season. Just not as of right now, it's the lowest point total in 10 seasons after the 33 games, after 33, and that was last time that happened was 2013-2014. We still somehow survived with that. So it's been very rough this season. I was hoping that we would turn it around, in January and February when we had that good run of form. We kind of came crashing back down in 5 games, basically 5 finals from here. And let's see what happens.
I'm looking at the before I say that, actually, mind you that when we did see you last, it was before again the match at the Marassi, which that was a win for you guys, by the way.
I was going to say, when you mentioned that first, I was wincing because I remembered how painful.
Those were the 2 rounds of matches where basically it was the end of the era of
That's
of
right.
blessing.
That was like
the loss at home against the Cittadella and then the loss at Perugia. So those were the 2 that basically said, okay, that's it, you're out. But that gave you guys a little bit of oxygen, I guess. But I was quickly looking at your next 5, the final rush, which we've been continuing to say that we can talk about ourselves, but essentially that's the final 5 for everyone. So no matter where what side of the table you look at it, whether you look at it from the top, whether you look at it from the playoffs, in the playoffs, if you look at the points, we're essentially just looking at a matter of 3 or 4 points from the 4th to the 8th. It's incredible. At the bottom is another battle. Just try to stay afloat. Next 5. So obviously there's the Cittadella at the Tombolato match against Genoa. By the way, thank you for all the tickets, because apparently for now, keeping fingers crossed for fans in Italy, there is no restrictions. So, how many stadiums now, there's restrictions. If you were born here, you can't go there. If you're a fan of this, you can't do that. But at least it's going to be a nice match. There's no hatred between the 2 teams. Actually, Jake and I, sometimes when we talk to each other, I think it was even Jake saying it, why don't we do a Gemellaggio together? Like, why not?
Agreed.
And after that, but the matches are not going to be that easy for you guys either. I'm like, who has it easy anyways? But Bari Cittadella after the Genoa one. So that's like 2nd in the league. Now it's going to be the 3rd one in the league. Then you have a match at home with Benevento.
Yeah, I think we have to win that. That's a must win. Yeah, definitely.
That might be like your not last call, but definitely one of the ones that makes that decision for the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then Südtirol Cittadella, the now 4th in the league. And lastly, Como, which depending on how they arrive on the last one, they could be trying to fight to get that last playoff spot.
Yeah, it's like I was looking at also, like I made a post today also with the other teams and their run-ins, and just I think we probably have it the toughest. I mean, we have obviously Genoa and Bari, Südtirol, then obviously the game against Benevento on match day 36. I mean, that's massive, because I don't know how many points we're going to get off of Genoa and Bari, considering we're playing probably the most informed.
I can tell you already, you're getting 3 points. So that means, unfortunately, redemption from our side, and then the win against Bari.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's going to go at the San Nicola. So
it's not easy. Obviously, Bari has shown to be, a great team. Not everybody was expecting them to be that strong. They're not that excellent team that at a certain point we were all afraid of. If you guys remember, there was a certain point in the league when they were like unbeaten, getting points left, right, and center, and they were just riding off with the 2nd spot for quite a bit. But what's the atmosphere, Cittadella city and fans, about the next few matches and the outcome, I guess, of the season?
Yeah, well, I've talked to some people like from the town and some fans over there. To be honest, like it sounds pretty pessimistic a little bit, because just given the way the team's been playing, not just like in the last like 7 games, but overall just throughout the season, just a lot of criticism has come from Guarini, the coach, has his playing style, Marchetti, the sporting director, and his signings. Yeah, it's not looking good, but I think we're still hopeful that we could somehow pull it around.
Well, I'm looking here quickly at statistics. I know like you like to chew a lot of stats as well.
Absolutely.
The one that just stands out for me is the goals for, like, together with Brescia and Benevento. But if you look at even like from the mid-table all the way down, it's the lowest.
Yeah, that is probably the most important and also the biggest problem of this season. I mean, this team just cannot score. I don't know what it is with it, but I don't think I mean, obviously Mirko Antonucci is having a really good season with 10 goals, 1 assist. That's very, very good. And obviously Crociata coming in January has helped a lot. But those 2 wins that we had against Ternana and Regina, that was where our last 2 wins. They did come against 10 men sides. We were playing up a man. So maybe that had something to do with it. But it's just, we cannot score. And I don't see how we're going to keep scoring against, obviously you guys in this coming team, maybe from a set piece counterattack or something. But I don't think the forwards have been doing enough, like, except for, as Antonucci can do all he can up front, and, whether or not him or Crociata is playing well, that kind of dictates the match, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a really tough ask because, like Fabry had said, every single one of those matches, you might have a team with an incentive. And I was thinking Como just to stay up, but to your point, Fabry, like they're only 5 points off of a playoff place at the moment right now. And that could be a closer gap by the time that they play at the end of the season. So, and just the points races are incredible at the end of this season, even with Benevento being 4 points away from safety effectively. Well, to a degree anyway, with the play-in game and everything else. That's tough. I mean, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I remember Cittadella getting some results earlier on in the season, maybe having like a decent run of form. Is there anything, do you think it was maybe like an aberration in the beginning? Was it something, am I misremembering it a bit? Is there anything you think that points to being a tougher run these last few months?
Yeah, like the start of the season wasn't that bad. I mean, we beat Frosinone at home. We beat Pisa. We were almost close to a result against Cagliari in Sardinia. I think also the injury to Enrico Baldini has played a huge factor this season, the torn ACL out for the season. That happened in like September. So that was huge. And then it's been just a common theme of just a lot of goalless draws, just kind of scrappy football from us, and just not seeing the way, not playing great in that terms.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think losing your target man, especially, and Baldini is a really talented player too. It's a hard one, and probably not one. Maybe that's one of the ones you guys are feeling more frustrated about with the sporting director, because I don't know if it was like that past campaign as well, but it seems like it's kind of was Baldini or bust a little bit until bringing it Antonucci to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, Antonucci and Baldini, I really like that link up. Last year we were playing well until we had an injury to one of our forwards, and then the other one he got suspended because he used like an illegal drug in his performance. So
happens. Yes,
that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's really tough right now because our defense is playing pretty well, to be honest. I mean, with Perticone in the back, the very experienced, and Frare. I mean, obviously Brickwall, Castrati in the goal. I honestly, it's not really the defense in the midfield. It's the really problem. It's just goal scoring in the final third. It's a lot of long balls fouling in there, and you just somehow find a way to score.
If you look at the 9th spot down, there's a lot of teams that are worse than you when it comes to the defense. I remember also you always trying to understand what's that threshold now in your mind for remaining in Serie B and or for the playoff.
Yeah, well, I think, obviously I was looking at the other teams' run-in as well, and I mean, there are some huge games like Cosenza. This is their run-in: Perugia, Brescia, Venezia, Ascoli, and Cagliari. I mean, those 3 teams are right below them, and that's going to play huge implications on playoffs and playouts. And also, don't forget, the head-to-head is very important because that's the first tiebreaker in Serie B. That's also a big problem for us because we don't have the tiebreaker on Spal. Brescia is tied, I think, so it's goal difference. Perugia is also on a tie. Benevento, we lost earlier. We still got to play. It's coming to a point where, I mean, I wouldn't feel safe tied on points. So I have always been saying we should probably 45 points should do us enough. I mean, maybe 44. Less is kind of shaky.
So that means 7-8 points in the next 5.
Yeah, I mean, obviously maybe a little less could probably do it. I mean, it also depends a lot on the other results as well.
Right.
Looking at our remaining schedule, I mean, if we could get a point from either Bari and Genoa, I think that would be very, very good. I said this earlier, but Benevento game at home, I think that's a game you have to win. Bolzano, I think it's doable because you have seen Südtirol maybe drop off a little bit in recents. And the last day against Como, I have no idea what to expect, man. I have no idea.
It's going to be so crazy. I just looking at these fixtures too. It's wild. I mean, it looks almost like Perugia and Cosenza are like twinned with their opponents too. I don't know if that's actually how their schedules were set up this year, but they're playing pretty much the same teams.
Basically, and there's a lot of, I mean, everyone basically has to play Palermo, Parma, Pisa's in there as well. Benevento play Perugia on the last day. Venezia still, play Cosenza and Ternana. So it's very interesting. And, I have no idea how this is going to work out, but yeah, we just have to take it one game at a time, and that starts again Saturday against Genoa.
The sad part is the lowest, at least for a while, it's said as for a decade type of season that Cittadella is having is also coming to play, unfortunately, and you can confirm that, probably the most competitive season in decades that Serie B has ever seen.
Yeah, it's been one like really crazy season because I believe last year at this time, the last play out, so it was the 16th place after 33 games. I think that was Alessandria. They had like 30 points. So that's Benevento right now, and they're bottom. So that just shows you how competitive it is this year. And I also think that the relegation that looms kind of over our heads is kind of also playing a factor that in June, it's going to be 50 years since the club was found, since their two clubs at the time merged. So you don't want to celebrate the 50th anniversary with a relegation to Serie C. And I think that's also coming into play, and that's kind of getting to the players, I think.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory again, the name of the two teams that merged together?
It was Olimpia, Cittadella, and
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you in a spot.
This is not, as a fan, I should know this, but it was formed in 1974. 73. They formed it, and the father of the current president, Gabrielli, he was the founder. Merged the club's first promotion. It was 2000, and believe it or not, it happened at the Bentigodi, which has not been a good place for us in the past times.
That's remarkable, actually.
Yeah, it's been one heck of a journey, and just being so close to Serie A, and now on the very brink of relegation. It's been interesting times here.
Yeah, sure.
This Serie B, definitely, we keep continuing to say in the pod that it's an underrated league. And I actually was talking with David Farini from Lega Football. He was saying, being also a commentator, also of the different leagues and whatnot, he was saying it's probably the best second league in Europe. The only sad part is, like, if you compare it to the UK one, the championship, the amount of money is just like unbelievable. I probably think that the championships gets more money than Serie A, so you can only imagine.
So many clubs do, I think, actually.
And Serie B is just surviving off of the fumes from Serie A. It's just like so sad if you really think about it that way. And the example I gave was the United States. There is a television deal to watch Serie B. For us in Canada, forget it. I have to look at it illegally. So
yeah, thank you, Helbit's Life. Thank you.
Exactly.
I'll never get those 3 commercials out of my head.
I know. We always joke about, like, even like the thing they do before the match starts now is like just stuck in my brain forever. It's just all these like bass riffs and then people on scooters.
It's going to be nostalgic in like 10 years.
I know.
It's an interesting league. If we do get promoted to Serie A, it's definitely a family that we have learned to appreciate and endure, because I think the experience that I had within, and I'm sure you can agree with this, with all of you guys, you included, was just like beautiful. Except, those few teams like Ternana, as I mentioned before, or Ascoli and so on, that were like, yeah, they can go down. It doesn't. We know how crazy the Ascoli president is anyways. Right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know it well.
I'm sorry to see you guys struggling this year. It's 5 matches left. Everything is possible. The ball, as we say in Italian, la palla è rotonda, the ball is round. So what that means is it can go in either direction.
Mhm.
Everyone right now, it's the last 5, and everyone is looking for what they need to do, like survival, playoffs, or direct promotion. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think we should all be like very pessimistic about these last games because on paper they're hard, but if you've been following Serie B all the season, you know
Right.
that like anything could happen on any given day, and so I honestly like don't know really what to expect. Genoa could easily win this match, but also Cittadella could also come out and win, and I think a large thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is not only the nerves for like us at the bottom of the table, but I mean, you guys, Genoa, are on the brink of promotion. I mean, you guys could
Yeah.
take one step closer to Serie A in this game. So how does that affect you and also like Bari next game at the San Nicola in front of their fans? How is that going to affect the team? And I think it does, like psychologically and
For sure it does. For sure it does.
It's totally remarkable. I mean, I really cannot. So I just to very quickly go back to like the championship comparison, it's a little bit different because of the more teams in the championship than Serie B. There's not a single team that's in, okay, we're safe if we go up, we're safe if we go down. I mean, there are teams in that middle bracket that, yes, they should be fine. But all those teams in that group have a chance to be in the playoff positions too, pretty much. Or you're just above the relegation zone. So every single team, I think, actually has these next 5 run-in fixtures that are really important. Maybe we see it look a little different in like match day 35 or 36 or something like that. But it's crazy. Everybody has to win and really get a result. So I think you're both super on point. You never know what's going to come out of it with those. It's just little extra nerves, a little extra pressure to try to get something done.
Who could handle it?
Yeah.
All I can say is no matter what the outcome is after these 5 matches, for the season. I'm not even going beyond the next match, but 450 minutes left of pure passion, pure anxiety, nerves. And then it's going to be empty. Empty for what?
Don't say
4
that.
months?
Unless you make playoffs and you have to go, or even worse, if in our case, play outs and it's 2 games of absolute chaos.
Just absolutely.
No, that's true too. Like I guess that's why Serie B ends a little bit earlier compared to Serie A because of the playoffs and the playouts, which I want to say that again. I really hope eventually they do something very similar in Serie A as well, at least for the playouts. And I don't know what they're thinking about Europe type of positions, but I think they should do that. It makes it more competitive rather than having the mid-table boredom. While for Serie B, because it's so tight, the amount of teams that want to catch up to the playoffs gives, even if you arrive 8th, that does not mean that you cannot make it through.
That's right.
And same thing for the bottom 2. The bottom 2, meaning for the 2 that goes for the playouts, they still have a chance in order to make it through. But yeah, 450 minutes of pure adrenaline.
It's gonna be crazy, and I think I fully expect the Settori Ospiti in Cittadella to be completely full of Genoa fans, and I think we expect a good crowd. I mean, obviously this year, you guys probably know it well. Wherever Genoa goes, it's going to be a big crowd. I think we're going to be in for a good atmosphere at the Tombolato on Saturday. On Saturday afternoon.
I can't remember how many tickets they gave to Genoa. I think around 1,400, maybe 1,200. I didn't read anything yet with respects to the fact of how many tickets were sold or not.
That's around the capacity for the sector.
I'm sure it'll just be blown out in seconds whenever they go on sale. The only times few Genoani going to the match is mostly due to limitations from the stadium perspective or the areas like Como, no more than 700. And everybody's like cheering crazy, like saying, let's go to Como anyways, things like that. But
and also considering it's close to the end of the season, closing on promotion. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of buzz around fan base. I'm sure you guys know.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. I wanted to talk about not only about the predictions, as we always do at the end of our pod, but I wanted to talk a little bit about so how is your pod going, and tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so I haven't posted a new pod in I think the last 2-3 weeks. It's because in those last 2 weeks I got a bit sick and wasn't able to do that. So I'm hoping to do in maybe this week one. I have switched to just once a week, kind of like this, once a week that I've posted, just because it's more doing 2 weeks to once a week twice a week was a lot.
Sure, we know what that means.
So yeah, and it's not just like uploading it, it's just the research, the gathering, all the stuff that I want to do. I should be getting back into the rhythm of things, especially in these last few weeks where it's going to get very interesting. But feel free, it's on Spotify right now at Citta Calcio USA show.
Nice.
You could find it like on other platforms, everything basically except for Apple, I believe. And I still haven't been able to get it on Apple yet. But
yeah, I still owe you help, at least from our producer Stefano. I'll definitely reach out to him anyways to help me out, to give you some ins and outs of how to post also on Apple, because at least for us in North America, he was telling us that the most hits for our pod is mostly on Apple first and then Spotify second, while it's the opposite in Europe. For some reason, I don't know, just how things work.
Yeah, well, thanks for the offer. And if anyone can't watch the game for whatever reason, you could always follow me on Twitter at Citta Calcio USA, and I'll be doing the live tweeting updates, trying to be unbiased as possible, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. It should be a really, really interesting game. I'm wondering how we're going to do.
It's going to be an
interesting one too.
It's hard for us too, Matt, right? Like, remember, we were maybe too, sorry for my French here, but a little cocky going into the match against Cittadella on the first leg.
Yeah.
Especially for us, we know that there was something going on with Lesson ending that definitely did not help him, and actually just helped him to get out the door. But at the same time, as also Jake said, anything can happen, especially in Serie B. That's the beauty of the league, where you get Cittadella can win against Frosinone, which perhaps all the bookies would have never bet a penny on it. But that's the beauty of it too. Or look at Cosenza too. If you look at the form in the last 5 matches for all the teams, you see Genoa at the top, and the second is Cosenza. Unbelievable, like incredible. Like you would never see anything like that. So let's quickly match day 34 actually looks like. So we have first on Friday, we have Regina Brescia. So that's an opportunity for Regina to catch up a little bit on the points, even though they have had these 3 points deducted from them. There is a chance that they're going to give him back, but
Regina, go Regina, beat them, please. You need all the
definitely help. They will help to keep some teams down.
I don't know about that.
Then we have on Saturday the long line of the matches. We have opening up with Como Ascoli. So we saw both sides are on the mid-table. And it's hard to understand where that match can go. Como has shown lately actually to be a little bit, that team that has stopped both Genoa and Bari on a tie. So, it can be up for them. But also Ascoli has, even though they're not friendly for us as fans, they have some upsets as well. Then, of course, Cittadella Genoa. So that will be at 2 p.m. local time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or for poor Jay, at 5 a.m. Pacific Time. You're a trooper, man.
Gotta get the coffee ready.
It's all good.
Then we have Frosinone Südtirol. Eyes on deck for that one, for looking up at the top. Südtirol trying perhaps to catch a little bit of breath with some points back, and Frosinone trying to keep the lead. I don't know. Should we call a little bit of a possibility of what that outcome can look like, in your opinion?
I think if results go their way, Frosinone could clinch promotion this weekend. I believe they need a win, and they need Bari to fail to win. So a draw or a loss.
Wow.
Yeah.
My point earlier, what I was saying to you, Matt, the fact that they have 10 points is giving them obviously the edge on the direct promotion. What about for you, Matt?
It's so hard. I was biting my tongue on it too, because obviously I would love to see Südtirol get something out of that match. I don't know. I mean, you never really know. I thought they were kind of unlucky away at Ascoli. I feel like it's probably going to be another draw. I don't know why. It just seems to me like Südtirol have also not been as lucky getting on the score sheet recently. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening out of that one.
Then we have Modena Spal. So Spal, again, third last. Obviously, Jake is hoping for the result for Modena. Modena, on their hand, sitting on the 9th. They're very close to the last spot of the playoffs, even though it's 3 points up. But nevertheless, definitely they're going to try to catch that. And they're playing at home. A big match, and that means that we're talking about the 5th against the 6th, Parma versus Cagliari. Another big match for match day 34. Parma has been doing great in the last few matches. Cagliari has lost a few points here and there, but looks like both in a decent form. So it could be either one of those super boring because everybody's super nervous, or it's going to be a super interesting match. Then we have Perugia versus Cosenza. Where would you like this one to go, Jake?
I have no idea, Fabrizio. I have no idea. I guess a draw. That's probably the best because no one really gains a lot from it. Really, the only thing is about us and, taking care of business for us in these last games.
It's interesting to see on social media what Bari fans always try to banter or talk bad. I don't know why, but about Genoa, because they're looking up, right? I mean, you get some Genoani that obviously are talking badly or not about Bari, but it's the nature of the thing. So Perugia Cosenza, that, as Jake said, it's quite an important one for both of them, having Perugia being at 4th last and Cosenza 5th last, even though they're tied with Cittadella. Both teams right now are sitting on the playout spot, so that's almost like a spareggio.
Yeah, and we don't have the tiebreaker on Cosenza, unfortunately. Or I mean, they don't. It's we both tied in the Ritorno and that Andata round, so it's based off goal difference for that matchup. Mm-hmm. That's why we have -12 and they have -21.
The edges for you guys.
Yeah.
Then we have Palermo Benevento. Palermo still doing a courtship to the playoff spots, but it's still having that difficult time. When you see them just hitting into the 8th spot, then they get that loss and then they drop out immediately. Maybe this could be another match where they get the 3 points and try to catch that last train. Then we have Pisa Bari. Our super friends at Pisa are gonna do it. Jokes on the side, Pisa is sitting on the 7th spot. Mm-hmm. They definitely want to stay in the playoffs area, having had lower performances throughout the season, but in the second part they actually did quite well and grabbed the playoffs area. So it might be quite an interesting one. Bari trying to catch up in order not to lose that 3rd spot, or try to catch the 2nd spot. But definitely that 3rd spot is quite important for the playoffs. As we know, the rules, actually probably Jake knows it better, but from what I understand, if you always tie in the 3rd spot, you pass anyways. But it's a weird rule, but
it's Serie B playoffs. That's a whole different episode, just trying to explain all that.
Last but not least is Ternana versus Venezia. So we saw the Ternana side winning last match, but at the same time Venezia as well. So they're both on the up and up. And obviously at this point, Ternana is trying to catch up a little bit on the playoffs, and Venezia is trying to run away from playouts and the relegation. So all in all, match day 34 just is exciting as ever.
Yeah.
Almost every match has something to fight for, and that's only match day -5.
It's crazy. This is Serie B right here. This is where the fun begins.
Oh, for sure. While in Serie A, usually the last 5, except for the Europe spots, everything else is boring, or maybe the bottom 3. Let's go with the round of predictions. Roll of thumb, drums. So who wants to start? Matt?
Yeah, I can start. I think I agree definitely with the sentiment going into this one that it's going to be I think a uniquely challenging game. It's obviously it's a meaningful game for both sides. I think Genoa will maybe edge it 1-0. I do think there will not be a huge amount in this match. I know it's kind of boring because that tends to be the prediction most of the time, but I envision almost kind of like what we had against Regina, like that, just like a coda goal that maybe just is a little bit more quality that ends up separating the two sides. I think that's probably what we're going to be looking at, but I don't know. You never know. Big match, a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, and you can't say Cittadella have nothing to lose because they must really get a result out of this too. But I think it'll be an interesting one.
So you're saying Massimo Coda on the score sheet?
Mm-hmm.
Quick question before I get to Jake. Do you still see we have a contract with him on a 3-year basis, but do you think we will be keeping him in the event we go to Serie A?
I think so. I think this is kind of a bad comparison because they don't really play exactly the same way, but I see him sort of like Destro was for us the last few years, where, at the very least we can bring on an experienced aging striker. Okay, very different Serie A than Serie B. Of course, he has played in Serie A before. If I were 777, I think it's actually kind of a smart decision. I don't think we're going to be selling him at this point in his career for that much. He's already on the books. He's experienced, and worst case, he's a guy that can help groom some younger players or something. But I think he definitely stays in the squad. Be my bet.
Jake.
Okay. So I think for any team that wants to go to Serie A and promotion, you got to come to the Tombolato and get a result from Cittadella. That's kind of like the
gauntlet.
I like that.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but that's the way it is. I've been hoping, since like these last 7 games without a win, just hoping like game after game, like, is this going to be a wake-up call? Is this going to be like a response? Is this finally going to happen? So I could either see a very, very good Cittadella saying kind of like playing very well and getting a result, a huge result, but I could also see them just not compete at all, and it's kind of be a breeze for Genoa. And another kind of point where I think it's important for the game to know is that when Cittadella concede the first goal in the game, when they concede the first when they're trailing, they end up winning 4 times, drawing 3 times, and losing 12 times. So not a good win ratio when we concede first, or even losing at halftime. So I think that's going to be basically what might decide it, and just that's going to be a big factor in it. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Genoa, just because I don't really see anything really from us, and hopefully that'll be the last bad game for us, and we'll go into Bari next weekend or next Monday in that case.
Ready to go.
Really just fired up, and hopefully the occasion will get to them.
Well, that leaves me with hoping not to get in that match cocky again. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a tripletta, but it's going to be definitely battled. I don't think Cittadella is going to let it easy to Genoa, obviously, because there is a strong need of points. Not only they have to look at what they have to do, but they have to also look at also the teams right around them, and seeing that there is another spareggio happening, as we mentioned before, with Perugia and Cosenza. What's more important is to get those points as fast as possible. Even though they're going to be playing against us and then after Bari, it's hard to get points out of those 2 matches. At the same time, on the other side, I wish that Genoa would thrash drastically Cittadella to give them that super wake-up call, because losing 1-0, losing 2-0, it just not gets you anywhere. Maybe it's that scossone, that big punch in the face that says, enough already. Now it's martial arts and
yeah
and let's kill all the rest. It's a tough one. I do think that if you look at the paper, based on the form, the bookies would agree with us saying that Genoa would be the winner here. I wouldn't be surprised for a tie, but I'm thinking that it would be a win for Genoa as well. It's not going to be a goleada, as Jake also told us. The defense for Cittadella is a strong one. It's not necessarily the best of the league, but it's definitely by far not the worst at all. And actually, if you look at the mid-bottom table, it's among the best ones anyways. But I think a 1-0 is feasible, as Matt said. 2-0 would be nice because it's a clean sheet. I actually agree with you, Matt. I think Coda needs to come back on the score sheet. He with those 3-4 shots on goal that he had against Perugia. The guy was just like, damn, that goalie, who is he? And he was even a sub. He wasn't even the main goalie for Perugia. Anyways, 1-0 for, all this to say, 1-0 for Genoa. So, having said that, this was match day 34. It's going to be...
Isn't that remarkable? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Incredible. This season, and it's not done over, and keeping saying the 450 minutes, but it's almost over. The best is yet to happen, or it's actually happening.
Mhm.
And that's the fun part too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to add too is that, Coda, for you guys, Coda, for whatever reason, likes to play against Cittadella because in 13 games, he has 8 goals against us. So
Wow.
I don't know what gets him hyped for this game, but he likes that. I don't know why.
I wonder if more at the Tombolato, or it doesn't really matter. But
Well, I have it on Transfer Market here. It looks like, well, he scored twice for Lecce like 2 years.
Years ago.
And he also scored for us against Lecce. So for you guys, maybe he just likes playing at the Tombolato for whatever reason.
One way from home.
Well, before we go to a wrap, I know you mentioned it a little bit briefly before. Just let everyone know if they want to reach out to you and talk more about Cittadella and the pod from the Citta Calcio USA show. How can anybody reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Citta Calcio USA. I cover not just Cittadella, but also, the league, Serie B, and also the Cittadella women's team, who are doing a really good championship right now in Serie B and might get promoted. But yeah, you could also reach out on at cittacalciousa.com for the website. You could read match articles, previews. I'll have a match preview up before the game, I'm sure. So yeah, feel free to contact, just talk Serie B, Cittadella in general, or maybe Serie C in the future.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
Well,
There's still time.
Who knows? Hoping for the best.
There you go.
Anyways, Jake, it was a pleasure having you and on our pod twice now. It was always a pleasure having you as our guest, and definitely we'll have to continue. We always keep in touch anyway, so that doesn't matter. I need not to say that. Thank you for coming on, bringing always interesting talks and stats. I love talking about stats, and Matt even. He's like probably more statistician than I am sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for inviting. And it's been one heck of a season. And it's just getting some people to talk about it. Obviously in English from North America about Serie B. It's been fantastic. So thank you guys.
Of course.
Our pleasure. And this is a wrap, everyone. As I always say, never forget, always and forever. Forza Genoa. You've listened to La Lanterna, a spotlight on Italian football, a podcast powered by Genuani Si Resta. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.